is up, Knicks fans? Welcome back to yet another episode of Fireside Knicks with your hosts, Dylan and Davin. I'm sorry that it has been so long since we did a video. I was under the weather, and so was Davin, but now we're back and better, so we're going to talk about the New York Knicks, and honestly, these last three games have not helped me recover from my illness, because these last three games for the Knicks have been brutal, to say the least, and last night against the Orlando Magic especially, probably the worst loss of the season, to be honest with you. I still think the Utah Jazz loss is pretty close to it, but this loss against the Magic was rough. I mean, yes, we were missing Karl-Anthony Towns and Deuce McBride, but the Magic were missing their entire starting five. No Mo Wagner, no Franz Wagner, no Paolo Banchero, no Jalen Suggs, no Gary Harris. They were missing basically their entire starting five, essentially, at that point. And the Knicks ended up losing at home, 103-94. The Knicks had easily their worst shooting performance of the season, which has been kind of a weird trend lately for the Knicks as well in their shooting struggles. And we're going to kind of just sit down and talk about this recent slump and what they need to do to fix it. So, Davin, first off, tell me how you're doing. And secondly, what have you really noticed about these last couple games for the Knicks? Because after they won 9 in a row, they've taken a step back and they've lost some games, and it hasn't looked pretty.
Doing great, man. And like you said, 1 night straight, 3 straight L's. And honestly, I think the lack of consistency across the board from the New York Knicks has really been a detriment to them. The loss to Oklahoma City, there's a lot of questions I could have asked about that game alone. As far as their approach coming into the game, Cat only took 13 shots and didn't take a single three against Oklahoma City. Three players took more shots than Karl-Anthony Towns. Who would it's not about a blame game there, but at the same time, there's a different approach that was taken the second game or against the Bulls, the second loss where they end up letting Towns shoot 29 shots. But the Bulls ended up outscoring, just like the game against OKC, outscoring the Knicks in the third quarter. OKC outscored them in the fourth quarter. These guys are like, there's just a lack of consistency across the board, and it's becoming more and more relevant because it goes down to small things, shot distribution, free throw making, these big moments against teams where these stretches are just like stale shooting. No one can shoot the rock at all. And we're seeing that. So we saw Towns take 29 shots. But then you guys give up 66 to Levine and Kobe White while the Bulls outscored the Knicks 41-17 in the third quarter and had a 19-point lead. The Chicago Bulls. And yes, the argument there was it's a back-to-back. You know what? The Knicks, it's back-to-back game, the second of a back-to-back, it happens. But then we see, like you said, the worst loss of the season where we let Wendell Carter Jr. go off for 19 points, a season high, 3 for 3 from three. Wendell Carter did that, by the way. I just wanted to repeat that. The Knicks go cold from three, 4 for 22, 18%. No Cat, sure, but the Orlando Magic still shot 35% from three, taking 31 threes. So even just taking more threes, the Knicks were a 12-point favorite, minus 620 going into the game, and end up losing that game. So that's the type of situation we're in with the Knicks right now. Really don't have too many answers, but beyond the fact that we need some level of consistency, some level of approach that deems winning, per se. Like, for my example, I don't want to say, I'm not coach or anything, but, for example, starting 3 games ago when you lost to the Thunder, my approach in that game would have been completely different. I would have had Towns been the focal point the entire game. That matchup with Towns and Hartenstein is exactly what he needs to be attacking. That's what should have been the focal point. That may be my opinion, sure, but they had a different opinion. They went a different way, and here we are 3 games later where there seems to be no identity with the New York Knicks, and it's very it's very evident at this point. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, and you know what? I think the biggest problem with the Knicks right now, and it's a pretty obvious one, it's the depth. I mean, they don't have any depth right now whatsoever. Yes, Deuce McBride has missed the past few games, and Mitchell Robinson has yet to play this year, but that's part of the problem. It is. Mitchell Robinson's injury really hurt the Knicks bench big time. I mean, yes, we traded away DiVincenzo to get Karl-Anthony Towns. You took away a bench piece there, but, you were expected to have a bench of Deuce McBride, Cameron Payne, or Landry Shamet, somebody, Precious Achiuwa, and Mitchell Robinson. That's not a horrible bench on paper. It's not. Yes, I do think you need a little bit more. Maybe you probably need another wing, but it's not a bad bench. It's one that you can kind of live with. Right now, we have no bench, and we're running basically a 7 to 8 man rotation, and I think yesterday against the Magic really showed the lack of center depth, because Precious Achiuwa and Jericho Sims were awful. I'm just going to be honest. They were terrible. Precious Achiuwa, I think, had 10 points, but he was a minus 14. Jericho Sims attempted a whopping 4 shots in 30 minutes. That's not going to cut it. When you have no insurance for these starters, it really doesn't matter who you're playing. You're going to lose a lot of games. You are. You're not going to win many games when, you don't have guys that can just come into the game and kind of pick up the starters' slack. The Knicks got away with it for a good part of the start of the season because the starters were playing that well. They were playing that well together. But you can't expect the starters to be like that every single game. It's an unfair and unrealistic expectation. So with that being said, you need bench help. And I don't know what the Knicks are going to do because, getting McBride back and getting Robinson back is a good start, but I don't think it'll be enough as much as I would have hoped for it to be. I think you need to make another move for a wing or even another guard that can kind of help take some of the scoring load off of these starters because the Knicks ranked dead last in bench points by a pretty wide margin, and it was really profound in the OKC game because sure, McBride did not play in the OKC game, but none of the other guys were able to provide anything in that OKC game, and they ended up getting, destroyed in bench points. I think it was like 44-5, which is just that you can't excuse that whatsoever. You can't attribute that to missing McBride or anything because Deuce McBride is not putting up 39 points off the bench. So, you can't just attribute it to that. The other guys have to step up and score, and they're not doing that, and I don't know if they're going to. The Knicks have kind of tried to rely on some scraps a little bit for the bench this year because, Cameron Payne was signed on a league minimum. Landry Shamet was on a non-guaranteed contract before he got injured, and now he's on a guaranteed deal. Precious Achiuwa on a one-year deal. Mitchell Robinson's on a standard contract, but he's injured. So, they're kind of relying on players that are either scraps or guys that you can't exactly rely on to stay healthy and be on the court. Achiuwa also missed 21 games to start the season. Cameron Payne's even missed some games as well. Pretty much everybody in that bench unit has gotten hurt at some point in the season. And, I really just think they need depth. They do. The starters, they've been great this year, and they've been great with health. They've only missed a handful of games together as a starting five. Yes, Towns missed the game last night, but he's only missed, I think, 2 or 3 games this season. Jalen Brunson's missed 1 game. Josh Hart has missed 1 game. And surprisingly enough, OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges both have yet to miss a game this season. That right there is great. It's great that your starters are healthy. I would prefer them to be healthy in the playoffs though, than in right now in the regular season. We're not even at the halfway mark yet. I want them to be healthy in the playoffs, and that's why you need depth. You need the starters to stay healthy. You need the bench to come in the game and help take off some of the scoring load from these starters, even when they're not on. Or worst case, if one of them is injured, like last night, it would have been really, really useful if we could have had a center come in the game and kind of give us a good 15 points or something like that, instead of starting Jericho Sims, who had not been in the rotation for a good 3 weeks, and then you brought him in to start, which I don't really understand that. I know he did okay in the second half defensively, but offensively it was killing the Knicks because every time he got the ball, he was just looking to pass out of it. It didn't even look like he wanted to attack the basket whatsoever. Even when he had a mismatch, he still refused to put up a shot, which you can't do that. You can't, especially from a fourth-year center, too. I'm sick of seeing that. And I'm kind of getting sick of seeing Tom Thibodeau give him a chance. I understand, you don't have many options right now because of Robinson's injury, but Jericho Sims is not good. We've been saying this for a while. He's not good, and he doesn't deserve to just come in and start after being out of the rotation for so long. I understand they needed some size. I get all that. You don't have options. I'm not blaming Tom Thibodeau, but at some point, though, I want to see Thibodeau kind of make a change a little bit. And it leads to my next point that I'm going to ask you about, because a lot of people have been saying to fire Thibodeau. They've been calling for his job, which I personally don't understand, because he's been kind of dealt a kind of a crappy hand right now. He's been dealing with a really rough situation that he did not cause. He's not the reason why the Knicks don't have a bench right now. He's not the reason. And I understand some people want him to play the rookies, but I have a counterpoint to that. But I want to give you an opportunity to talk about it first before I go into it.
Oh, absolutely. So, great solutions being made. Playing the rookies, I want to say I'm more on that side than against it at the moment. There's no McBride left hamstring tightness, so we understand him even coming back when he does. It's going to be a little slow progression until he gets back to his regular self. And with that being said, you're going to still do the same exact game plan that you've been doing and relying on guys to play 40 minutes who are expecting to carry the load offensively and defensively. So they're going to take nights off. That's just the way the NBA works. You're not going to have an on night every single night when you're the guy that's playing 40 minutes, and we have 3 or 4 of those guys that do that consistently. So they're going to be bad nights. We're in a tough stretch right now where that's kind of the situation where, like Orlando Magic team, maybe the Knicks run up for it all mentally and everything. They come against an Orlando Magic team that is up because there are no off nights in the NBA. It doesn't matter who you're playing, and you're expecting you guys to have it on every night playing 40 minutes. That's just not the philosophy. It's not going to work. It's not sustainable. These guys can't win like that, and they be expected to maintain some winning mentality and some type of cohesiveness going into the playoffs because it's going to be, oh well, we're playing the Wizards, we're playing the Magic now. We can take a couple of nights off and then pick it up and we play this. That's not how the way a winning recipe works. You need to be on every single night. And Tom Thibodeau, I mean, he's a coach. He understands how that works, but he won't play rookies because of their lack, of what they know and nuance in the NBA. I understand all that, but we need guys that are going to get productive minutes. Some guys to relieve our starters. Some guys to give our starters a reason to keep hustling and keep grinding because, oh yeah, this guy's not going to take your spot, but he wants to, things of that nature. But when these guys know that there's no chance this rookie can come in and take my minutes because he's a rookie, little things like that can just, and change the mindset a bit, make you a little more lackadaisical than you need to be. And that's just little things like that, little nuances that I think the Knicks would need to do something different about because I understand why you wouldn't pay the rookies. I do get it. At the same time, when you have the roster that you have and you play them the way you do and you have the reputation that you have of not playing rookies, I'm not saying you just have to flip the script completely. You have a philosophy. You've been doing it your whole entire career. He's 66 years old. Tibbs is not changing. But I can say that I think it would be formidable for them to give the rookies a chance and have give these guys that are starting minutes a real rest out there because this is just not substantial and they're not going to be able to sustain this throughout the whole entire season. It's just not.
And my counterpoint to this is this. I understand, giving the rookies a chance to kind of give some starters a rest. Yes, I know. And maybe I sound a little contradictory when I'm going to say this, but I promise you playing the rookies is not going to make much of a difference. It's not. Because if you trot out a bench right now of Kolek, Dadier, and Hukporti, and whoever else you want to throw in there to fill out the rest of the spots of the bench, I promise you the production is going to be exactly the same as it is right now. And, as bad as it sounds for me to say that, because it sounds like I'm downing on these rookies, no, I'm not. I think these rookies do have a chance to be good players one day if they're given the opportunity. But right now, we're in the middle of the season. It's a little late to be trying that. And if you try this right now in the middle of the season where, you're trying to get these guys to kind of, I guess, create a spark, I don't think they're going to do that. I don't really think they're going to exactly create a spark because they haven't had enough time in the NBA to really get themselves going. And I don't think that is Tom Thibodeau's fault because really, you're not going to play Tyler Kolek over Deuce McBride. You're not. Maybe you could play him over Cameron Payne. I personally think maybe he should get an opportunity to play over Cameron Payne at the very least. But you're also not going to play Dadier, who is a raw prospect, and it's clear that he's a raw prospect. There is still a lot of flaws to his game. He's an 18-year-old kid. As much potential as he has shown in the limited playing time he's gotten, he is a raw prospect. Same thing with Hukporti. Raw prospect. You're going to be playing raw prospects and expecting them to give you big minutes while the starters are sitting? I mean, it's not going to happen. Even if you play the rookies, the starters are still going to end up playing 40 minutes. That's just how it's going to work. They're still going to play a lot of minutes. It's going to be no different than it is right now with the bench situation. Yes, I understand, too, that they've kind of been relying on scraps a little bit. Cameron Payne was on a league minimum. Landry Shamet was on a non-guaranteed deal before he got injured. Precious Achiuwa is just on a one-year deal. I get all that. But at the same time, playing the rookies is not going to make a difference. I promise you it's not. So the people that are calling for Tom Thibodeau's job after 3 losses and to one of which was the best team in the NBA, I think that's a little outrageous. I do. This team is a very good team. They're 24-13. They're 3rd in the Eastern Conference. They're off to their best start to the season that they've ever had since 2012 or something like that when Melo and Shumpert and all those guys were there. So this is a very good team. There's ebbs and flows to a season. I understand when they had that 9-game winning streak, it was against some pretty bad teams. I get that. I get that they have had struggles against some very good teams this season. But they have shown that they can compete with these good teams. Yes, I would like to see them finish it and not just compete and then end up losing in the end. No, I want to see them compete and then finish the job and get the win. Yes, absolutely. But they have had some good wins this year. Yes, they've lost a lot of games to good teams this year. They lost to Boston, they lost to Cleveland, they lost to OKC. Those are 3 of the best teams in the NBA, though. The Knicks were never the best team in the NBA. Yes, that is the ultimate goal, to be the best team in the NBA. But the reality is that they never were, and they probably won't be this season. I don't think they will. They can easily be a top 5 team this season for all I care about, but they're probably not better than the Thunder. They're definitely not better than Boston right now, or Cleveland. They're not better than these guys. They're good teams, and they're also good teams that have been around for a while together. They have played together for at least 3 or 4 seasons now together. Especially look at OKC; those guys have been around for a while. They were through the rebuild together in the bad years, and now they're still there, and they're a contender now. Cleveland, they've been just kind of a mid-fringe playoff team the past couple seasons. They're still together, and now they're the best team in the Eastern Conference. Boston Celtics just won a championship being together. Sure, they added Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, but their two best players have been together for a while, so the point kind of still stands there. So this Knicks team kind of needs a break a little bit here from some of these fans, because this is a brand new team, and I understand we're what 37 games into the season, but it's still a brand new team, and to build chemistry, it usually takes an entire season to do that. There's going to be nights where they look perfect on with the chemistry, and then there's going to be other nights where they don't, where they look completely out of sync. Last night is one of those nights where they looked out of sync. It's going to happen. It's part of a season. Even teams with great chemistry are going to deal with that. But regardless, this Knicks team is it's incomplete. They don't have chemistry right now. They're missing several key players, or maybe not several, but they're missing, a pair of key players off the bench. It's gonna happen. I'm not excusing the loss last night against Orlando either, because that is an inexcusable loss. It is. I will flat out say that. It's not. I'm not like excusing the loss whatsoever. I'm not excusing the losing streak. But I'm just mainly calling out the people that are already calling for Tom Thibodeau's job after 3 losses. Like, come on. It's going to happen. This is the first time all season that they have lost 3 games in a row. I mean, what more do you want? And what more do you guys want from him to do with the bench situation? Because he didn't create this roster, okay? Leon Rose created this roster. And Leon Rose has done a great job. I'm not going after Leon Rose here. He's done a great job. Look at the team we have now. The starting 5 is possibly even the best starting 5 in the NBA. Those guys have been playing so well, but that's the reason why we don't have a bench right now. Sometimes you got to make sacrifices, and I understand it. Financially, the whole second apron situation and stuff. It's a lot. It is a lot for a GM to handle, a president to handle, whatever. It's a lot, but at the same time, you can't blame Tom Thibodeau for this situation. Tom Thibodeau is doing anything he can with the guys that he has available to him at his disposal, and he's trying to win basketball games. Yes, I understand. Maybe you shouldn't be playing guys 40 minutes in January. I get it. But I promise you, if he plays the rookies, the same thing is going to happen. So for those people that are saying he needs to give Kolek, Dadier, Hukporti a chance, the same thing is going to happen, guys. It is not going to change. I promise you that. I want to give you a chance, though, to kind of fill in on that.
I don't know. You're just saying all the right points. At the same time, I think that is all just about, how can I say, like I can't think of that word. Pardon me, but the dexterity that these guys are going to need, like having that drive going into the playoffs, is really what it's about. And like you said, if they're not going to play the rookies, I think the greatest idea would be to make a trade to get someone that we know that Thibodeau can fit into the system, or trade the guys. I'm on that side. I'm on the side that's going to keep our starting 5 sustainable, keep them healthy, make sure they're going to have all the energy they need going to the playoffs, and then have a bench capable enough. We can use 8 men, 9 men max. At the same time, you just need more scoring. And in my opinion, the wing position needs more scoring. Things of that nature need to be addressed at the same time. But I do understand the argument of not playing the rookies. But I do believe having defense, having extra bodies, having somebody that you can learn the system more through, this player that you drafted, things of that, things do matter. Those things do matter. Make a crazy difference right now. No, they wouldn't be so substantial at the moment, but they kind of put themselves in that own situation when they started the season this way. So we knew coming into the season. We talked about this. I'm talking about before the season started, how depth would be an issue. Here we are in January having the same conversation we were having 5-6 months ago. And it's like, if we knew they were coming into that situation and not going to play the rookies, then that's a situation that should have been addressed, months ago. Now we have Mitchell Robinson waiting for him to come back, and he's not going to bring offense. He's going to bring defense. So we won't really answer that question as far as scoring off the bench being addressed. So hopefully by the deadline, I think the February the 7th deadline, they figure something out, man. That's all I can hope for, to be honest. That's all I can hope for. These guys get some sustainability off the bench, some scoring at will. It won't be the last bench scorers for the foreseeable future, and have us somewhere in the playoffs that can really be a real spark plug, not someone that's just bombing away, opportune threes, things of that nature. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I understand that a lot of Knicks fans are very reactionary, so maybe their Tom Thibodeau takes about calling for his job could be purely just based off of raw emotion and reaction from losing a horrible game to the Magic and two other ones before that. I understand the emotion, I understand the fandom you have, but at the same time, you got to be a little rational and think critically here instead of just calling for the coach's job after a couple bad games, because these bad games are going to happen. Teams go through losing stretches all the time. And it's not even just the depth is the issue. I think it's the main issue, but one of the other issues that I wanted to touch on real fast also is they're kind of taking a step back from what they used to do. They're not taking enough threes. They're not shooting threes right now. I seen a thing in like their last 8 or 9 games. They're dead last in 3-point attempts and they're near the bottom in 3-point makes per game. When you're not taking enough threes, you're not going to win in today's NBA. I'm sorry. I know all the old school people love when people don't shoot threes. And I know there was that whole big debate over the Christmas holiday about, 7-footers coming into the league shooting threes now, particularly talking about Victor Wembanyama because I think he has more threes than dunks, which is kind of funny. But regardless of that, when you're not shooting threes in today's NBA, you're not going to win games. The reason people are coming in the league and shooting threes is because it's how you win games. Look at like the Golden State Warriors. They revolutionized basketball by shooting a bunch of threes and won several championships. Best teams, the Boston Celtics last year, one of the best shooting teams in the NBA, and they won the championship. These teams that shoot threes win championships and win basketball games. And when the Knicks were doing that, they were winning. They were winning a lot of games when they were shooting threes. They were doing their thing. They were hitting them at a very highly efficient rate. In fact, they're actually still third in efficiency from three-point land, despite their recent struggles. That's just how good they were to start the year. So, with all that being said, I mean, that's part of the problem too. They're not shooting enough threes. They're not taking enough threes. They're not being confident. There's a variety of reasons why they're struggling right now. I think purely the depth and the three-point shooting are the two biggest reasons why they're struggling at the moment. I don't think this struggle will last much longer because, as Clyde Frazier said on the broadcast yesterday, the Knicks know they're better than this. They know they're better than who they were last night. They know that this isn't going to be an every night thing, an every game thing. They'll figure it out. They'll get back on their footing and they'll start winning again. But this January is going to be tough. You have OKC again on Friday. You got some pretty good opponents coming up. You got Philly at one point this month as well, who's starting to play well too. The Milwaukee Bucks have played well as well. You got them later on this month. You got some better opponents this month than you did last month. They took care of business against the bad teams, which is fantastic. I'm glad they did that. But now you have tougher and more formidable opponents. And you've got to be able to win these ones to kind of make a statement and actually give a reason for other fans outside of Knicks fans to look at you seriously and be like, okay, these guys can actually win the title this year. You know what I mean? So we can sit here all day if we want and talk good about how good this team is because we watch this team every single game. So we can sit here all we want and talk about how good they are or how good they will be, all this stuff, which guys they need to keep around, which guys they don't, defend our coaches or all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we do see how it is, and there are real flaws that this team has. I acknowledge that. We're not sitting here making excuses about this team. So I know a lot of people are, kind of sick of hearing people go on Twitter or on YouTube, whatever, and make excuses. I understand. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'm looking at it how it is. There is a reality. It is an ebbs and flows to the season. The sky is not falling like how some people want to make it seem. So there are ebbs and flows to the season. It's gonna go up and down, and it was never gonna be a smooth sailing ship. It just never was. But at the end of the day, I just want to see better play from these guys. I won't have to sit here and rant for 25 minutes when they actually are playing well because I can actually relax a little bit and really see that they're starting to play better again, like a true contender. Some people can be a little dramatic, and I understand there's raw emotion involved in that. I get it. I've been there myself, so I think everyone has done that at some point as fans. But we also see how it is. I'm watching every game from not only a subjective view as a fan, but I am looking at it objectively as well and seeing just how it is with this team from a different standpoint. That's really all I got to say, though. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of let out some final thoughts on what you want to see improve moving forward before we wrap the episode up.
No, honestly, all solid points. We've been making great points this show here. Like you said, the 3-point shooting, in my opinion, they're 27th ranked in defense. And then during this 3-game losing streak, of course, they're going to bounce that back when they start winning games again. At the same time, 27th ranked in defense. There's not, like you said, the only reason they're losing is not just one thing. They're doing a lot of things wrong, and they're doing a lot of things consistently wrong, and they just have to be better. And as simple as that. We know they're going to be better than this, and that's all we have to worry about right now. Well, hopefully this won't be next episode. We're talking about they're on another losing streak. We're talking about more of a winning streak on the other way, 3-game winning streak. We're talking about over the next week, but we'll get into that when it gets here.
Yeah, because guys, I promise you, we want to talk about wins. We don't want to talk about losses. You know, as much as we can sit here and talk about why, what's wrong with this team for all day, we can talk about how good they are all day as well. And we'd rather would do that than talk about losses. But unfortunately, we do have to talk about this team, how it's going, and what actually is happening. We can't just ignore it just because they're losing. So we have to talk about it and see what's going on and figure out a solution. And the simple solutions are shoot more threes and get more depth. Whether that means getting healthier or making trades, it is as simple as that. Those are the solutions. It is not fire Tom Thibodeau. That is not the solution. It is not clean house in the front office. That is not a solution. It is not trade Josh Hart, because I was seeing some of that last night. That is not a solution either. So whatever I just said, those are the solutions in my opinion. All right, it is that simple as that. But I do think this is finally a good place to wrap the episode up. It went a little longer than we anticipated, but we had a lot to say about this team right now because a lot of people have been going off on this team. So we really need to let it out. We really hope you guys enjoyed this video, though. I know it was a little longer, but I hope you still enjoyed it, and you let us know what you think about all this stuff in the comment section below, because we would love to hear about it and chat with you guys about that. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page that you were watching the video on. You can follow me and Davin's personal Twitter accounts. They're right there above our heads. And we will see you guys in the next episode of Fireside Knicks. Peace out.